So please welcome up this morning, wrapping things up for us, Garrett Bryant. Before I begin, I just want to thank all of you for being here. And thank you to the other speakers who shared such amazing stories. Little boy clicked Legos together, building a blue house for a small yellow family with plastic black smiles. The doorbell clicked, and the boy could see the shadow of a man through misty-paned glass. Little boy's mother opened the door. The Legos continued to click. The blue walls grew. Shadow clicked into a police officer who took off his hat, held it with both hands in front of his belt. The shadow man clicked, "I'm sorry," dropped a hand on the mother's shoulder. Her face turned to snow. The officer left, and mother clicked over to little boy, hugged him, told him she was okay. He was okay. Little boy shuffled through Legos like pieces of glass, searching for another blue brick. That little boy was me. Roughly 2.5 decades ago, when I experienced my first big restart, an unexpected restart. About a year before that, my parents split. My father left our family to live with his new girlfriend, then the divorce. The two of them moved to Denver for their own new start, away from the ashes. And on January 17th, 1996, my father took his own life. I experienced this as a 7-year-old, playing with Legos, watching my mom answer the knock at the door. This loss unsettled my family. My 16-year-old sister drove deeper into depression. My 19-year-old brother burrowed into college and aspirations to be a doctor, angry at the world. My mother, a fragile stone, took on more jobs, more work, a new role as a father. So what does it mean to restart? To start over? A beginning? A new beginning? A button on the NES you slam angrily over and over again until your sister finally lets you be Mario? Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a truly new, fresh start. And let me tell you, my friends, that's not such a bad thing. The way I see it, there are two types of restart: the unexpected and the willed. The inconstant, loss, displacement, the shattering, the unplanned, and the willed risk, challenge, movement, shift in perspective. Both force us, I'm not used to the clicker. Both force us to adapt, find grounding, find meaning, and grow. And what they both have in common is that they are unsettling. Okay, fast forward to college, and I'm ready for order. I'm longing for consistency. So I make the obvious decision to shift my focus from engineering to poetry. Because I find that this writing thing really allows me to dig deeper into myself, the world, and the people around me. I go to grad school, I write a book, and I restart that book over and over and over, and I find rejuvenation in that act of restarting. After grad school, I begin teaching full-time while working various side hustles, like any artist does. My writing falls off, my creative outlet diminishes, and my wife, the one that pushes me out of planes and constantly challenges me to take risks, sees me suffering in this state of complacency and buys me an Amtrak rail pass. That trip was the second biggest restart in my life. It afforded me time, lots of time. If you travel across country on Amtrak, be prepared for days and days of being on a train. Just the stretch from Seattle to Chicago takes 2 days or more with delays. The conductor tells me he once ran through a herd of llamas on the tracks through Colorado. I had never done anything remotely like this before. It was indeed as unsettling as much as it was an opportunity to breathe. Milk-smooth egrets light from pool to pool of trapped water. This is desert. This is valley. Hello, desert, my old friend. I spent my time writing, reading, connecting with strangers, and gleaning perspective from every observation. Train-side hippies outside Reno drinking tall cans, one in pigtails, dances, finger jabs the sky to train horns calling, to the whistle of coming and going. I ate PB&J sandwiches, slept on the floor of the observation car, falling asleep to the blur of stars overhead. I sleep while the country burns around me. I see the world through the smudges of children's hands. Distant fog lays over the land like a belt, maybe a lake, maybe the dead. Aspens crowned in gold, the aspen leaves wave hello. I thought I had known patience. A mother soothes her child. Don't be scared, honey. It's just a tunnel. Trains on trains on trains, and so much fucking corn, and the Illinois dust that kicks and spits. Are we in Denver yet? Whew. When I returned home, I spent the entire month of November writing, and then I busted out my manuscript. This time, I saw my book, my poems, my story as something completely different. Fragments of memories and experience, all interconnected by the will to keep moving and growing and learning. I reorganized it, added new work, shuffled around language like Legos. I was truly back, inspired, ready to risk it all again on poetry. And I learned that if we really wish to grow creatively, emotionally, intellectually, we must live in constant restart. We must embrace the unexpected, challenge ourselves to take risks, see the world differently, try new things, and eat giant sandwiches. I couldn't have been prepared for what my father chose to do all those years ago, but it unsettled me, ushered in a kind of rebirth. If we live in constant restart, we will find ourselves prepared for the unexpected, adaptable, grounded, and inspired. We will grow, find deeper understanding, empathy, light, perspective, our better selves, and love. Now I'm going to end with a poem. It came to me last night that this was important to read today. So it's a relatively new poem, so bear with me. Enough. If a flower answers to the sun and the cousin of bloom is rain, then you might ask, how many flowers would we need? Arthur Kazakian. I might say, enough. Enough to say a February was had under a blanket on the floor in front of a fireplace. Enough to say a girl was playing with boredom, the kind that comes with longer nights. I tell you, we need enough flowers to lay at the grave of each brother and sister taken by the copper eye of a bullet. Enough flowers to sweep ashes and bone to veil this smell of death in a country where sorrow seems to be the only human right. I'd say I need one for my mother, for all mothers whose hands have mastered ache, whispered a final lullaby folded in prayer. 1 flower for grief and 100 for guilt. Enough flowers to call them a bouquet. Enough for a wedding, for all the weddings. Enough to kiss spring. 1 dozen to each parent separated from their children at the border, a baker's dozen to each child. Enough to give the person humming in the kitchen and the single mother 2 hours before dawn making 3 bus transfers. I'd say even more for the families separated by a border or body of water or the chain link of a refugee camp. Enough for Aleppo, Mogadishu, Nepal, Puerto Rico, Mazar Sharif, Mexico City, Thousand Oaks, Hodeida, Gaza, Squirrel Hill, Chihuahua, Sirta, The Caravan, Damascus, Parkland, Mosul, Las Vegas, Brussels, Paris, London, Santa Fe, Manchester, Bogota, Kiev. Flowers. Enough flowers. For the moon, for morning breath, for the idle, the shy, the disenfranchised, the ghosts, the ill, the laughing, crying, shaming, moving, beaten, hopeful, all that is yes. Enough flowers so we can dry them into a wreath to wrap around our world. Thank you.